But the thing that really devastated me was when he said, I would just have to learn to live with it. Welcome back to another Come and Chat with me. Today I want to talk about an experience that was very difficult at the time. And unfortunately, it's not a rare one, as I found out. And that was the time that a doctor told me that I would just have to live with the fact that I have anxiety and depression for the rest of my life. But before we get into that, I want you to take a moment to close your eyes and to feel into your heart space with compassion and without judgment, and just breathe deeply into your heart space. So, a number of years ago, I was working 3 jobs. I was trying to get my business off the ground. I was in a relationship that I no longer found fulfilling. And I knew that I was in a bad place, but I didn't recognize how bad it was until it had been well established. I used to drive to work, and I used to look at the trees on the side of the road, and I used to make note of the ones that had particularly sturdy trunks. And the thought that would run through my head was it would be so easy. It would be so easy to just I knew I needed help. I knew that I was in this place that I couldn't get out of on my own. And I spoke to my mother about it, and she suggested that I go to a wellness retreat. So, this particular wellness retreat was a juice fasting retreat, which is a whole other story in itself. And as part of going to this retreat, they requested that you get some blood tests done. So I didn't have a regular doctor at the time. So I found a GP at one of the local bulk billing centres. And if you're not Australian, bulk billing is where Medicare will pay for your doctor's appointment. So the government pays. I didn't know this doctor, I'd never met them before, and I never went to see them again. And whilst that experience was devastating, I don't think his intentions were bad. I think he wanted to help me in the only way he knew how. So I went to my appointment and he asked me, what did I want to achieve with this appointment? What was going on? And I told him that I have a long history of struggling with my mental health and that I was going on this retreat, and the retreat had requested that I get some blood tests done. And he asked me for details. So I think this is all fairly standard procedure. He asked me about how I was feeling and then why I thought I had problems with my mental health, and then he had me to fill out a form, which is a very standard form that GPs have, which basically asks you questions and how you answer them. It's a scale and it tells you where you land on that scale, and it's used not to diagnose but to indicate if you are a potential sufferer of anxiety or depression or other mental problems. And I filled it out and he looked at the results and he said, yes, this does indicate that you have anxiety and depression. And he sort of asked more about this retreat, and I told him what I knew. And I could tell that he didn't really think it was going to help. But the thing that really devastated me was when he said, I would just have to learn to live with it. That I would just have to learn to live with the fact that I have anxiety and depression, and then that was the reality of my life. He gave me a life sentence, and that was devastating to hear. I was in this place where I was looking at trees and thinking about how it would be so easy to drive into one. And I was hoping and looking for any way to feel better. And through those words, he took away my hope. A small part of me immediately rejected his words, fortunately, but it was a quiet part. At the time, I gave away my power to him and I let him convince me of trying something else. I still wanted to go on the retreat, but he said that we could try medications. Now, I'm not anti-medication. I have used medications before, and I think if they help you and they work for you, that you should use them. And medications have helped me in the past, but they stopped helping me after a while. And it was sort of that cliche of I just kind of felt a bit numb. And I didn't want to feel numb in life. And I always thought there had to be something better, there had to be another solution. But he basically said, I told him all this. And he said, what if I just write you the prescription and I give it to you? and you can decide what to do with it from there. And he would sign off on he would authorize getting these blood tests done. So I agreed. And though I had already made up my mind previously that I didn't want to do medication anymore, a part of me thought that maybe he was right. So I went to the chemist and I got the script filled. I got the blood test done. And I took that medication, I think, for 3 days, maybe 4. And then I lost it. Like it disappeared, or maybe I demanifested it or something. But I woke up from this, what felt like a spell that I had been put under. And I thought, you know what? I don't believe that. I don't believe that this is my life, that there isn't something better, something more effective, that I can't be happy and enjoy life and love life. So I took the script with the refills and I threw it away. And I never found that medication. Even when I moved out of that house, I never found it. It just disappeared. And I'm grateful that it did, because it wasn't right for me. But that's not to say it's not right for other people or that it's not essential for other people. But I knew for me it wasn't right. I truly believe that that doctor wasn't intentionally malicious. I don't think he meant to do harm. I think he wanted to help. And he only had a very narrow view of how he could help, which was through Western medicine. And that's not to shame Western medicine or doctors. I know some great doctors. I know some very educated and caring doctors, and my doctor at the moment, he's very good. He always listens, even when I can tell that he perhaps doesn't think the same way that I do, but he always listens to my opinion and values that and makes me feel heard and tries to incorporate my ideas or my goals. So, whilst I believe this doctor had good intentions, it could have had very devastating outcomes. This doctor was just a general practitioner. He had no education, as far as I knew, in psychology or uh, counseling or anything along those lines. But he felt that he had authority on that and to say what my experience would be. And perhaps that comes from his own experience in life. I don't know. I never went back. I never saw him again. But I think that it's very important for professionals, particularly medical professionals and other professionals, to really consider how their words might affect someone. Consider how when someone surrenders their power to you, like when someone goes to see you for an illness, how you might actually be creating that future for them, how you might be giving them a life sentence. So if you've been in that place, and I know multiple people who have in my life, I don't want you to lose hope. I want you to know that there is another way, because I found it. And my way might be different to yours, but if I can give you some hope to find another way, then that's worth it. I plan on sharing the methods and techniques that I use to heal my own anxiety and depression on this channel. So feel free to check those out. But if this is the only video you watch, then I'm glad you stopped by. So with lots of defiance against someone else choosing your future for you, I wish you the best on your journey to falling in love with life. And I hope you stick around to meet me in the next video. Lots of love.